New this afternoon, Kootenai County in Idaho has reported its first coronavirus-related death. The man who died was in his 70s and had been hospitalized due to complications with the coronavirus. As of today, there have been 88 deaths across the state of Idaho and more than 3,300 cases of the virus. In Kootenai County, there have been 99 confirmed cases of the virus.
The fact that our case count has gone up so significantly over the past 3 weeks since Memorial Day is very concerning.
Also, we are tracking this tonight as coronavirus cases and hospitalizations rise. Health Officer Dr. Bob Lutz does not support Spokane County moving into phase 3 of reopening yet. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here for KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Whitney Ward here at home, and of course my colleague Tom Sherry is there at the KREM 2 studios tonight. Hi, Tom.
Good afternoon to you, Whitney. Let's take a look now at the latest coronavirus cases here in Spokane. As of this morning, Spokane Regional Health District is reporting 842 coronavirus cases and no new deaths. This is an increase of 40 since Friday. Dr. Lutz says there are a couple of areas of concern here. The amount of young people being impacted. 300 of the 842 cases are people aged 20 to 39 years old. And then there are hospitalizations. There have been at least 14 over the last 3 weeks. Dr. Lutz says 8 out of the 9 people that are currently hospitalized are in the ICU.
My concern still exists that people are taking the opening into phase 2 a little bit too liberally, and I think it reflects in our case counts. So I can't emphasize enough to you that we're not in front of this pandemic yet. We have to be vigilant.
Lutz says there is data to suggest there is community spread in Spokane County. And now some new data from the Washington Department of Health shows that COVID-19 infections are increasing across the state, particularly here in eastern Washington, and with a possible spike in western Washington. The latest statewide report release says there is concern for Benton, Franklin, Spokane, and Yakima counties. Lutz said he did provide data to contribute to the state's report, and he does have questions about the overall data presented. Whitney, over the weekend, Idaho moved into phase 4 of reopening.
Yeah, a lot of people were very excited about that. Of course, businesses are opening, and so too are libraries now. And this is important because there are so many touch points in a library that some have been concerned about how to keep it all sanitized and safe for the kids and the older populations who often go to the library. So we're talking about locations in Post Falls and Hayden and quite a few other spots in North Idaho. So for the latest on the protections that are going to be in place, we are turning straight to Taylor Vito. Taylor?
You know, we're a public library, so without the public, like really what are we?
A point that COVID-19 has made sure we're all well aware of. Yes, libraries are traditionally calm places, but the Hayden Library on Monday was wonderfully abuzz with people.
But this morning it was a little bit crazy. You know, it's nice to see the members back.
A lot of relief because, hey, we get to go back to what we're supposed to be doing. This is so exciting.
After Idaho entered stage 4 of the state's reopening plan this weekend, North Idaho's Community Library Network reopened their 7 locations on Monday. Those notably include the libraries in Post Falls, Hayden, and Rathdrum. The 3D printer was also on, making coronavirus face mask accessories.
So this is an ear guard.
The Community Library Network says entering the 4th stage of Idaho's reopening plan allowed this to happen. So what will a trip to the library look like? Similar to other places, you'll see plastic dividers separating librarians at checkout stands. Employees are wearing face masks, social distancing is encouraged, but capacity won't be capped. Computers are spaced out and sanitizing wipes are available if you'd like one. But meeting rooms are closed for the time being, and some reading programs are staying either online or are on hiatus. But still, library staff say welcoming back members is a big deal.
For a lot of people, this is where they socialize. This is where they come every single day, where the smiling faces that, you know, that they connect with.
Hayden Library staff are quick to note that it's more than just books here. People come to the library daily to get on a computer or use the internet, including some folks who don't have access at home. And as at-home classwork wraps up for students in North Idaho, the reopening of libraries is welcomed by parents too.
And now being able to get back to being able to offer so many of the services we weren't able to do during the closure, it's really exciting.
Library guests are not required to wear face masks, but are encouraged to. In Hayden, Taylor Vito, KREM 2 News.
And I'd say a library was a pretty much perfect place to be today. Yet again, we're talking about cold and rainy. It was windy. So Tom, I think it's safe to say everyone is pretty excited to hear what you have to say about when we're going to get through all this cold and rain.
Well, you're right. We are almost set a record cold high temperature today. That was, I think, back in 1912, 55 degrees. Well, we're at 56 right now. So we didn't set the record, but we're too close to it. You know what I'm trying to say? Cloudy skies out there right now and rain. Look for the rain to continue as you look at the Doppler radar on and off throughout this evening, overnight, and again on Tuesday. Here's a closer view of those showers. We see some of the heaviest rain now moving across I-90 just east of Coeur d'Alene. You can see it right there, that area of kind of yellow and dark green. That indicates heavier precipitation. Also a little bit west of the St. Mary's area, we're seeing that rain. Temperature-wise, yeah, it's just too darn cool. 52 right now in Coeur d'Alene, 56 degrees out towards Spokane's Felts Field. We'll look for an overnight low of 46, 63 the expected high on your Tuesday, but because we love Dad, Father's Day weekend, and also the summer solstice is on Saturday. Father's Day, of course, is on Sunday. Summer weather really does begin on the solstice. We look for a high of 80 on Saturday, 83 on Sunday. Whitney, stick around. I'll show you my 7-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, sounds good. I'm looking forward to it, Tom. Thank you very much. Well, the local Salvation Army says that food donations are desperately low right now, and they're asking for your help to make sure that families in our area still get the food they need. So for the latest on that, we are turning straight to KREM 2's Laura Papetti. Laura?
Well, Whitney, you see the press releases a lot from nonprofits. So when we received one today that said they were desperate and in critical need, I made a phone call to the Salvation Army and I said, okay, give me some perspective here, because there have been other times pre-COVID where donations have been low, and their response was like, no, this is very, very worrisome. This is very low. So let's look at some numbers. We're talking food donations down about 50%. So areas within the food bank and the storage area, there are some bare shelves, and they said this will have an impact on being able to feed members of our local community. And they said there's really two major streams of donations that are down quite a bit. Number one, individual donations. So that's just folks dropping off some food for the food bank. And then also they said they get a lot of grocery items from the grocery stores in the area, and they said those are dramatically down as well. Not real surprising, as we've seen some shortages at the grocery store over the last several months due to COVID and the related shutdown and some of the distribution problems. So we know that the Salvation Army has said they are hurting, and they say now they are hurting dramatically in food and in volunteers as well. We visited the Salvation Army today, and you can see some of those bare shelves. They have about a 6-week supply. That's about half of what they would normally have. They're also down with volunteers as well.
During this time, we have changed our process, and instead of letting people shop for themselves, we give them out boxes. So we need people to fill the boxes, and volunteers are even more important now than they were before, because the people aren't allowed to shop for themselves and they have to fill up the boxes. So.
Okay, so you're hearing from a volunteer there, and you can volunteer by signing up at makingspokanebetter.org. They desperately need volunteers. For example, today there were 2 volunteers. Normally there would be 4 or 5 people working in that capacity. Also, they need donations right away. So you can donate by going down to the Salvation Army. They'll have people come out and go ahead and take them out of your car, and you never have to be in contact, and you can social distance. I'll send it back to you.
Such an important thing, Laura. Thank you very much. And we'll have more information on also how you can help on our website. Just go to KREM.com. In the meantime, a major headline today, a major victory in the battle for LGBTQ rights. So that was the parade today, the victory lap. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling today that the federal law protecting workers on the basis of sex also does apply to transgender people. It was a 6-3 ruling. The nation's highest court made it clear, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that bars discrimination on the basis of sex, race, origin, or religion also protects gay and transgender workers.
It doesn't matter whether you work in Illinois or Missouri. It doesn't matter whether or not you are in Ohio or Indiana. You will now have the full protection of federal law.
So Justices Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Brett Kavanaugh all dissented. Justice Kavanaugh wrote, "We are judges, not members of Congress. Our role is not to make or amend the law." But in the majority opinion, Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote, "An employer who fires an individual merely for being gay or transgender defies the laws." Also in top headlines today, protests continue in Atlanta over the death of Rayshard Brooks. Take a look at some body cam footage that shows two officers trying to arrest the 27-year-old. This was on Friday night after he had failed a field sobriety test. Somehow he wrestled away from the officers, then apparently took one of their tasers and ran. He fired the taser back at the officers, and the officer fired his handgun, killing Brooks. Today, Rayshard's wife asked protesters to please keep it peaceful.
I can never get my husband back. I can never get my best friend. I can never tell my daughter, oh, he's coming to take you skating or swimming lessons.
Both officers involved in the shooting have been placed on administrative duty, and Georgia prosecutors will decide later this week if either of them will face any charges. Well, one area of Seattle also getting national attention. It is now being called CHOP.
This is not no party.
This is not no party.
They are still killing our people in the streets.
So when we come back, we're taking a look inside of the Capitol Hill organized protest, otherwise known as CHOP, what protesters are refocusing their message to. And as always, we continue to give big senior shout-outs right here on KREM 2. So tonight we spotlight Alex Clutter, a senior at Medical Lake High School. He loves jazz band and computer coding. And just in case you missed our senior special last week, you can check it out on our YouTube page. We've got an entire hour of great moments celebrating seniors just like Alex and the entire class of 2020.